Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Land of Brand Laboratory, or the LOBoratory, as we like to call it. If you've never joined us before, we meet every Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, and we talk about different topics in branding. So how to build a truly unique brand that expresses your personality and positions you as the go-to person in your niche. So today we're going to talk about being an expert versus a thought leader. And I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my screen. So as we're going through, if you have questions on the right-hand side, you'll see a chat box where you can put your questions in there. If you have anything you'd like to add, we want to hear your experiences. So the whole premise behind being a laboratory is that we're experimenting. So all of us in our businesses, we have to experiment in order to grow. We have to try new things and see what works, what doesn't work, and how to improve upon what we're doing. So if you have ideas like that as we're going through, then please go ahead and post those into the chat. And I will come to them at the end as well as any questions you have. Today's presentation is going to be fairly short. We've been trying to keep them short and sweet because really this is less about a how-to and more about just making you think and kind of making you aware of something new that maybe you haven't thought about before. And I think we only have actually 4 slides. So let's go ahead and get started. So the question today is, are you an expert or are you a thought leader? And we're going to talk about the differences between those two types of positioning and what it means for your brand and what it means for how and what you're selling for your products and services. So when you're creating a brand, you need to claim your status. So when you're crafting a brand, you're crafting a perception around yourself and your company. So that perception is going to drive how people think about you, how they see your product as credible, how much they trust you. And the truth is that you need to claim your status as an expert because people are not going to hire those that say, you know, I'm pretty good at that. You know, I could probably do a good job. You're not going to hire someone that says that. You're going to hire someone that says, I am the best, that is able to claim their expertise and say with confidence that they are the one for you. So being an expert is important. And the other thing to keep in mind with your brand is that your brand is interacting with your prospects when you're not there. So your brand needs to express this expert status in your writing, in your products, in your programs, in any thing that you're putting out there. So your website, your brochures, your webinars, anything that you're putting out there that has to do with your brand and your service, you need to be claiming your expert status and showing that you know what you're doing. But the expert status can also be kind of a trap, especially if you're a service provider, because as an expert, you're selling your time doing things for people. So if you're a service provider, this is especially true. So as a website designer, I am selling a service to people. We are experts in branding and website design, and that's what we're selling. And it can be kind of a trap because if you're just selling something, you're trading time for money. And in order to leverage your time, you need to be able to work with more than one person, which you can still do as an expert. We're going to talk a little bit about how being a thought leader will help you do that even more. The other thing you end up doing is wasting your time answering questions that anyone can answer. This is something that I am trying to get better about. Being an expert in website design, branding, WordPress, those kinds of things, I get a lot of questions about how to do things or about my opinion on choosing this or that. And it takes a lot of time for me to write down a little tutorial for someone when they can actually just go Google it. So if you find yourself answering those technical questions that could probably be answered by someone else or with a quick Google search, then you're in the expert trap. Because yes, you want to show yourself as credible, but you also want to be spending time doing more of what you love. And if you know what I'm talking about, if you're that service provider that's always answering those technical questions, then you know what I'm talking about, that it's not the best use of your time, and you know that you're not the only one that can answer that question. But as a thought leader, you would be the only one that can answer a particular question. So we'll talk about that in a moment. And can you still teach as a coach? Yes. That's supposed to say, can you still teach as an expert, not as a coach? Of course you can. So there's another way you can position yourself, though. So even if you're an expert, you can still teach, you can still do leveraged courses. However, as a thought leader, you're kind of creating a different position for yourself and making those courses that much more tempting. So here's the potential of a thought leader. A thought leader has more than a working knowledge of a subject. So when we are learning a new skill or a new subject, we go through these phases of learning. So first we have just an awareness of how to do something. Then we actually start doing it, and we have to keep reading instructions. And then it becomes a working knowledge where we can do something without reading instructions, and then it becomes second nature. So now suddenly you're really good at something. So that could be riding a bike, or you could be really good at copywriting, or really good at writing a blog post. That's actually a good example if we look at that. So when you first start writing blog posts, you're going to look up how to write blog posts, how to title them, how to structure them, those kinds of things. Then you're going to do a couple. As you start writing them, it becomes easier because you start to remember the process. You start to remember how to outline, how to title, and as you continue to do it, maybe after a couple months of writing blog posts, you could probably claim yourself as an expert because you've done it in different ways, you've seen what works and what doesn't work, and you have a working knowledge. You don't have to think about it anymore. You just sit down and write. When you are a thought leader, so you have that working knowledge, now you're going to innovate how you would write blog posts. So you would be creating new paradigms, new ways to write, new ways to come up with topics, new ways to title. You'd be doing testing of things that people are not writing about yet, that hasn't been published. You're coming up with your own ideas and you're trying them. So a thought leader is going to introduce new paradigms and innovate within that area of expertise. So they're going to create new ways of thinking, new ways of doing things that maybe start with the old ways, but they're creating something that hasn't been done before, or at least isn't common knowledge. And in doing so, they're going to make you expand your thinking and view of the world. So if you're watching a thought leader and you're seeing them go through this process and they're sharing with you the discoveries that they're making and what they're trying, you're going to start seeing things in a different way. Now you can try what they're doing. Now you can go through that process of becoming aware and starting to learn how to do something and then gain a working knowledge in this new area of their expertise. The other thing that thought leaders do is that they teach you to do and think for yourself. So as an expert, it can be very tempting to do things for people. I am notorious for this, and again, it's something that I'm trying to break myself of. If someone asks me how to do something, I'll usually just do it for them because it's easier than describing it, or it's easier than trying to teach them how. It takes less time. But a thought leader is going to challenge you to think for yourself and to do for yourself. So they might point you in the right direction or give you a big picture idea, but then it's up to you to make those decisions and use your own expertise and learn. And that's really how you teach, is by helping someone do for themselves versus doing it for them. If you're doing it for them, then they're not actually learning. And again, this is a lesson that I've learned myself, and I hope you guys can relate, because we've talked about this before. The LOBoratory is all about experimenting, what works and what doesn't work, and we always share real information. So this is truth from the land of brand on things that have not been working for us, and that's doing things for everyone. We are trying to do more challenging our clients and teaching them how to do for themselves. So how do you establish thought leadership? If you want to be a thought leader and you're at that level of expertise where you really can begin to innovate and really begin to create something bigger and better than what's been before you, how do you establish yourself? A huge part is in your content marketing strategy. So your content marketing strategy is the information that you're putting out into the world about what you do, about your experience, and it's a big part in how you position yourself and your information. So typically when you're trying to establish your expert status, and you're starting to write articles and that kind of thing, you're writing a lot of how-tos, how to do this, how to do that. There's nothing wrong with that, and you're still going to write how-to articles as a thought leader because you do still want to demonstrate that expertise. But you're going to write more why articles. Why things are the way they are, why this works and that doesn't work. More opinions, more ways of thinking. You're going to write articles that introduce new ideas, things that are not common knowledge, insights into your marketplace, insights into your niche and what you're seeing clients do and what's working and not working for them. You can publish quotes from you on social media. So one of the biggest social media strategies I see people implementing is publishing quotes, inspirational quotes from thought leaders, basically. So different people, different experts in different areas of like niches. And you might post a quote from Zig Ziglar or a quote from a speaker that you really like. Well, if you want to establish yourself as a thought leader like them, then you should be creating your own quotes. You should be publishing your own quotes to establish yourself as a thought leader and have people quote you. And last but not least, you create on your own terms. So you're going to be creating content and writing about things with your own opinion and your own view of the world. The second thing that's going to help you establish yourself as a thought leader is a well-defined message. We talked about message, I believe that was last week. So last week we talked about your message and how you're going to use that in your brand to really become known for something. And your message is a lot about why you do things the way you do and why you do what you do. And the reason why that's important is because it demonstrates your view of the world. So it demonstrates your unique approach, why you do things the way you do, why you do what you do, which is what people are going to relate to. And because you have a unique viewpoint, you are a thought leader. You're not just regurgitating information. You're not just showing someone how to do something or doing something for someone. Now you're demonstrating a point of view, and people can choose to agree or disagree. And with a well-defined message, you're going to become known for it. So you'll become known for this message, for doing something this way, and that's how you become a thought leader. And you're also going to teach clients to do and things for themselves in your courses. So again, instead of doing things for someone, you're going to challenge them with questions and direction to do for themselves. And you may offer guidance as they go, because you are the expert and you want to lead them in the right direction. But ultimately, you want them to be doing for themselves. And that's that. So that is the difference between an expert and a thought leader. If you have questions or anything to add, feel free to type them in the chat box. I'm not seeing anything yet, and you guys are about 30 seconds behind me. So while I'm waiting for you to catch up, I'm going to talk about what we're going to talk about next week. So, like I said at the beginning, every Wednesday, 12 o'clock Eastern Time, we meet for these wonderful little mini lessons. Next week, we're going to talk about the creativity conundrum, how to jumpstart your creativity. So, you can't tell someone to be creative or to create something completely unique. And this kind of goes along with the thought leadership. You can't just force yourself into innovating or creating new ways of doing things. So we're going to talk about how do you do that? What is the starting point? How do you jump off into creating your own ideas that are unique to you and your own ways of doing things? So that's what we're going to talk about next week. And I don't see any questions coming in, so I am going to wrap up. I hope you all have enjoyed this presentation, that you have a fantastic day, and I will see you next week. And so I'm going to close down the broadcast, but I'll stay on a chat for just a couple minutes in case any last-minute questions come in. And I hope you all have a fantastic week. Bye.